Thing with early stage investing is you need a thematic fund because as a generalist, if you're running too thin and wide, there's very little value add you can do. I think sometimes founders come with that POV that because we all live in our little cocoons, right? That this works in my little cocoon, it'll work for everyone else. I think AI, in my opinion, the big opportunity really is how quickly the feedback cycles will come back to you. Using automation is actually a good thing because if you're going to do manufacturing at this kind of scale, I don't think we have the skilled labor to do it today. I think work related, I would say everyone should read Venture Mindset. Welcome to Champions of Checkbooks, a podcast by the Women in Investing Network, where we chat with members of the network to understand signals and trends in the investing world. I'm Maya Chandrasekaran, representing the Women in Investing Network. And before we start with our guest today, a big shout out to our production partners at Qualcomm Ventures for letting us use this really lovely space. And also a thank you to Trilegal for supporting this scene. So over to the guest today. Our guest today is Swapna Gupta, partner at Avaana and previously director at Qualcomm Ventures and a stalwart supporter of the Women Investing Network. So Swapna, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us today. The pleasure is mine. I have been closely watching what Women in Investing is doing. And this series is, I think, a testament to how we are nurturing the next generation of women investors. So kudos to you guys. Thank you. Before we actually get to what you do, I think you had a really interesting journey. So maybe you can explain a little bit about how you got to be an investor, career pivots, what's got you here? No, it's interesting. I think often people talk about how they got where. I think my life I think it just kept happening to me, if I could. The other day I was joking that when I went to school, 11th, 12th, I realized there's something called engineering. I said, okay, there's something called engineering, let's do engineering. When I did engineering, I realized, okay, there's something called MBA, let's do MBA. When I was in MBA, I realized the most paying job is investment banking. So I said, let's do investment banking. And as I was doing investment banking, someone said, while investment banking makes you good money, the longest way to make money is VC. It may be more helpful to understand yourself as a person. Maybe you should do that. And I did VC, right? So I think my life has been more a function of someone telling me you should do this, and I have gone and done that. Jumped into it. But I think VC was also interesting because as a banker, I was pitching deals to a lot of VCs. And that time when I started VC, and I still, that sort of ages me, but when I started VC, there were like 10 VCs in India. Yeah. And I knew most partners and everyone knew me. That was how small the ecosystem was. I was a banker going and pitching deals to everyone. And in one of those kind of conversations, one of the VCs said, well, you are technical, you understand finance, just move to the other side. And that's how it happened, right? And I'm so glad it happened because I have really seen the years of India where India actually became the startup nation that we call today from actually probably deal velocity of 10 deals a year. You talked a little bit about, you put it as, someone told you and then you decided to do that. I think there's also been some very interesting sort of intentionality about how you built your career. So it would be great if you could also explain that because I think there are a lot of young fund managers listening to this. Yeah. I think the intentionality is simply because, let me put it this way, I think often in our lives, we are told you can't do something. And often in our lives, we are told you can do something. I think it's important to go away from the noise of what you can't do, right? When people say you can't do this, well, you can't be a partner at a firm, or, well, you can't be an engineer, or women don't understand technology, right? A lot of those biases which people keep peppering and throwing at you through your life. I think it's important to just muffle those noises. And it's important when someone comes and tells you that, well, you're smart enough and you should do this, you go ahead and do this. For example, one of the things I did in my life is something called Kauffman Network. There are very few Kauffman Fellows from India. Seems very arduous because you have to travel 8 times a year. You have to go to the US, various geographies to do it. Also, it's expensive. Why should you do it? But in one of those conversations, someone said, Swapna, I think if you have to really become the VC and really build for India, and it is the right years for building for India, there are very few people actually building it the right way. Kauffman is a great support network. You know what investing is. You don't know what a good investor actually looks like because India is very new in investing journey. And when you go to that network and you learn from some of the best VCs who have been investing for 40 years, you actually understand what being a good VC looks like. Amazing access, amazing exposure, right? So I think that is where I would say, I think a lot of this has been people telling me what you can do and not do, and just listening to what you can do and just moving along that journey. So that's brought you here now, Avaana. Talk a little bit about what you're doing now at Avaana. And also, I think it's interesting to play out what you were doing before and what you're doing now, right? Which is investing from sort of a corporate balance sheet versus having your own fund. Yeah. And it goes back to the earlier theme, right? Very few corporate VCs actually you will find actually go out and move to financial VC. And it comes from two or three things.
corporate VC is very comfortable. There is a balance sheet. You never have to go raise money.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell anyone why they should invest in you, and you don't have to tell an entrepreneur why they should take money, because when you're raising money, it's a balance sheet. And when you're going to an entrepreneur, you're taking the whole business development team with you, right? That this is what we can do as a firm for you, as a large corporate. So I think it's very different from that perspective, because it actually tells you what it means to toil and sweat and work hard to build a firm. I think the second thing is, when you start doing this, you also realize that actually VC is not a chip, what we were discussing. VC is actually has no chip on the shoulder business. It is actually a lot of hard work to build a firm, which over time becomes a firm where every founder in the country says, well, these are the people I want to work with. These are some of the best people who actually know what they're doing. They're very good investors, very ethical investors, very prudent investors, and are very helpful in the journey, right? Whatever that value creation plan may mean for that particular startup. I think the second is, I was doing deep tech at Qualcomm, right? At that time, nobody was doing deep tech in India. But I think it was interesting because we at Qualcomm really saw what was happening with smartphones, chipset, automotive, IoT, whatever was coming our way. We could read some ways tea leaves, come back to the market, because we were also seeing what's happening in US, China, Israel.
Yeah.
And saying, look, this is happening in India. Let's go invest in a Tonbo. Let's go invest in IdeaForce. Let's go invest in a MapMy India, right? So that was the first wave of deep tech companies. As I think about it, a lot of it was bits, 0, 1, chipsets, IoT, smartphones. But there's a lot which is happening in India in deep tech and physics, chemistry, biology. And a lot of these deals which I would take to the IC, as if it was not relevant to Qualcomm, it just did not make sense for a Qualcomm to invest, because how do you add value?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you want to be a value-added investor. I think that's one.
How do you add value, and how does Qualcomm get value as well?
Exactly.
Right? It's not really.
I think the second is, what is the next big problem to solve for? And at that time, I think, again, Kauffman was very helpful, to be honest. I met a lot of friends in Kauffman who were climate VCs. It's very sad that there was not many climate VCs in India. And there people were actually building built environment funds, alternative protein funds, MDS-based funds, nature funds, right? And India, we were scraping the surface. So then the idea also came in that maybe there is a value in building a climate tech fund for India, solving for energy security, food security, supply chain resilience, all the things which we do, but can be put in an umbrella which really takes India towards a developed world, but also ensures we sustainably grow, right? And then you do both bits and bytes and atoms in the process. So I think that was again a journey of what next and what different could you do. So I think in a way that has my life trajectory been. I have done what I've done, but what is uncomfortable, let's move to that and start learning that.
Learning again. So when you look at what Avaana invests in now, what is it specifically within the broader space of climate and sustainability that excites you?
I think everything. It's very interesting. I was having a conversation with one of our investors, and what we were discussing is, actually you can put whatever tag, label to whatever all of us as investors are doing, right? You could call someone generalist, you could call someone SaaS investor. For climate particularly, you are investing in large sectors of India GDP, which is supply chain, which is energy, which is food, which are areas of security and importance and growth for a country. And the bad news is technology hasn't moved in last 100 years. You and I still commute the way we do.
Yeah.
You and I still eat what we eat. You and I still sort of consume whatever we are consuming, right? There is no shift which should happen to ensure that as the country is growing, population is growing, and as we are developing, how do we do it better? This building, right? These buildings are still being made the same way.
There's no quantum shift.
This lighting is still the same way, right? So that is where I think the conversation is, everything we do, because it is large GDP growth contributors, will have a meaningful impact in country's journey. And of course, I'm a VC, I want to make money. My name is venture capitalist. So how do I make money is a big thing, right? And if you're investing in large sectors of national importance, you're bound to make some money in the process.
Any specific trends that particularly excite you right now?
Couple of them. I think one is built environment. A lot of reports have pointed out that actually India is building, which means 80% of India's built is not built. Right now. You go to Guwahati, you go to Meghalaya, you go to Ladakh, you will see it's still all being built out, right?
Yeah.
But given we have this opportunity to build from scratch, we actually have this opportunity to build it right? So I would say that. I think the second is circular economy. Just by the sheer amount of consumption we are doing, there is so much which we can go back into the same cyclical economy and create, right? How do you make waste to value, right? And there is so much waste across, be it food, be it energy, be it OEMs, be it vehicles, be it whatever we are doing, right? Solar panels, etc., etc. How do you convert this, whatever waste is our way, to value? Because again, as a country, if you're growing, you're bound to create a lot of waste in the process. thing is either you create dump yards or you create value out of it. I think it is in our own personal benefit of all of us to create value out.
So I'm going to maybe play devil's advocate a little bit over here, right? Because obviously there are all of these opportunities. Obviously there is growth. At the same time, as you also said, until a couple of years ago, there was nobody even doing climate.
Yeah.
What do you see really as kind of the opportunity for growth investing in climate and sustainability? Because that's what we need next.
Yeah.
And that's what we haven't seen enough of so far.
Yeah. I think very good point. If you take out the word climate, I think every growth investor that we want to says, I want to invest in the large sectors which are going to explode in next 5 to 10 years. They don't care what it looks like. All they care is, can this give me growth investor? 3 to 4x.
Yeah.
Right? All that they care about is it. Now, when they look at India and they say mobility is exploding, they will invest in mobility. They look at agri-tech, which at some point of time was not even a sector. Now it's a well-growing sector. Yeah. They are willing to come in because now they understand the regulatory challenges also of the sector. Same goes for energy. I think what was earlier, say, solar, wind, more project finance. Now it is about energy storage. It is about grid security. It is about more energy transparency between various parties, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where they want to invest. So if I take the label off, I can talk to a Beyond Net Zero.
Yeah.
And I can talk to a decarb fund. But at the same time, if you talk to a GA, if you talk to Anderson, if you talk to all the large capital, GC, all the large capital allocators, they think of it as, can this make money for me? Let me invest in it.
They look at it from the business opportunity.
Yeah. But I think also, to your point, a lot of climate investors are also seeing that India opportunity. If you think Leapfrog has made its first investment in India, Lightrock has put its first person in India to do climate investments for them. I, coming from corporate VC background, have at least fielded in last 3 years every large corporate VC, either wanting to set up a team in India or has already set up team in India and wants to do climate, be it a Schneider, be it an Orbia, be it a Shell, be it different stakeholders, right? So I think that capital color is coming from different pools.
Yeah.
You could say, I need a very specific climate investor to come and invest in India. But if you're making money, it doesn't have to be a climate investor. The thing with early stage investing is you need a thematic fund because as a generalist, if you're running too thin and wide, there's very little value add you can do at that stage.
Value add, it's harder for you to also identify the right opportunity.
Exactly.
You have to know the space.
And you do this, right?
Yeah.
How does founder know that this is the right partner to work with?
That you know their business well enough to advise them.
Correct. So I think that is where I think...
So we don't need that it's a question of time. It just happened. Yeah. It's just,
and I don't think we need climate pools. I just need large generalist pools and we will give you monetizable opportunities.
Yeah, we'll give you businesses that are
that will make money for them.
Yeah. On that, just to kind of flip. You've seen a lot of opportunities. Every VC has this. There's no shame in it. What's your anti-portfolio? The ones that got away.
There's no shame, but it still breaks my heart.
The heart breaks in.
But I also cheer from the sidelines. So in fact, yesterday I had put it on the team group. As I was seeing Ather IPO sheet and I was telling them in 2000.
On the front page.
Yeah. And I was saying Ather came to us in 2014 and I was at Qualcomm then. And they said, we are going to make these fancy scooters and they will have a great infotainment device on the front. And business unit is like, too small. No EV in India. What's going to happen here, right?
When was this?
This is 2014-15 when Tarun and Swapna had just come out.
Yeah.
Had got their first check from Binny and Sachin. They were just starting to build out, right? Nobody thought EV could be this big 10 years later, right? But those are the ones that get away when you actually can't read the tea leaves, right? No one, I don't think me in particular, I don't think anybody in India knew that this is where EV will be today, right? The second, I think, and that is, I still sort of have a lot of tussle internally with my ex-Qualcomm folks on it is when this whole B2C consumption was taking off in India, right? In a team, you have different people who are very young and ordering a lot of food, people who don't order food and cook at home. And then they have also seen enough dead bodies where food delivery hasn't taken off in India. But I think India's 2014-15, again, I think saw that tipping point where consumption became more digital. Smartphones came, connectivity came, payments came, right? All of them sort of logistics came.
Yeah.
All of that enabled the network. And then it was an opportunity to invest in companies like Swiggy, right? Having seen US and some of these things not play out in India for a company, for us at Qualcomm Ventures, it was very hard to say, look, this will play out. We don't know if a food delivery business actually plays out, the unit economics actually works out, right? So I think some of those got away. I think, those are the ones. And they have all done well. They have gone IPO. I still cheer.
Could have been you.
Could have been me ringing the bell.
Yeah.
No, but we got some of them right. So, for example, when you see the trends, we did shadow facts.
Yeah.
Because we saw that now that it is all said,
logistics
is going to play out in India in a way that it has.
So on that track, what is it? You see the trends, you see the opportunities, kind of the macro. Any suggestions, thoughts to founders on one, what they should be building, and then also at the same time, things that you've seen them do, which you think as an investor is a mistake that you would guide them against?
I think founders is easier. I actually think a lot of founders come from a great place of passion and purpose. But I think sometimes they don't think about the GTM or the product market fit, right? It could be a great product, but if exactly 10 people are going to buy it, there is no point, right? Or if it is something where the stakeholders who have to buy are probably 0.0001% of India, it will make money, but it won't scale beyond a certain point of time. I think sometimes founders come with that POV that because we all live in our little cocoons, right? That this works in my little cocoon, it will work for everyone else.
This works in Bangalore.
There used to be a joke earlier. Yeah. Never invest in a company which has done Bangalore as first PMF because everything works in Bangalore. But yeah, I think those are the things. I think sometimes I see founders have been very myopic about what they're building because they don't take enough feedback.
So now moving to kind of the big hairy topic. Obviously, you know where I'm going. AI. What is your take on it? Obviously, as a climate investor, there are many things that still need to be solved in terms of how AI uses energy. At the same time, there are opportunities. What do you see?
It's very interesting. I was talking to someone that while India is thinking about cooling its people, the rest of the world is thinking about cooling its servers.
Exactly.
So I think all of us have some sort of cooling problem. But I think AI, while I think every technology has its bane and downsides, and there is either it plays out today or it plays out in 20 years, right? I think AI, in my opinion, the big opportunity really is how quickly the feedback cycles will come back to you. So if I think about biotech alone, right? Sometimes biotech companies take forever because the research and the iterations, everything takes so long. But I think, for example, use of AI models in biotech, I'm seeing it right now in our companies, how it has reduced the cycles for them. Instead of taking 1 year, it's probably shrunk down to 6 months to 3 months to 6 months. What used to be digital twin in IoT, that has become sort of, because there was data which could be fed back. Here, there is data which is helping them sort of iterate better. Right? If I think about more AI opportunities, I think a lot of it will play out more on the human side of it, where they will automate a lot of things.
Yeah.
Which means if I look at manufacturing, the big opportunity for India right now is we could be the manufacturing bet for the world. And actually, in the current circumstances, what's happening in the world, it makes it more relevant. I think we have proved that we are the manufacturing capital of the world, but we can continue to do more and much more better, right? Because a lot of it will be friend-shored and will come to India. I think in that context, using automation is actually a good thing. Because if you're going to do manufacturing at this kind of scale, I don't think we have the skilled labor to do it today.
Not just scale at this kind of precision. That
I don't think we have the skilled labor. And by the time that labor comes, it will be 3 to 4 years, right? So I think it is our opportunity to actually use it. And I was thinking of this in the same context of California. California is now the 4th largest GDP. So it is amazing how they have done it. But if you think it is all on the back of venture-backed startups, technology, agri, manufacturing, which is what India is. And if you go to Valley, which I was there 2 weeks back, all you hear is how AI will transform the way that particular geography, which is now the 4th largest GDP in next coming years. So we can do the same here and use it to scale the same sectors that they are talking about.
Amazing. And actually, that's going to be my next question, right? I know that you were just traveling. So what are you hearing? Like, what are some of the global trends that you think are interesting?
Of course, everyone is figuring out what tariff means at this point. But that is sort of the VUCA world we live in. And I think we'll all have to come to terms with it.
Yeah, and that's literally my last question, right? There is no getting away from the fact. We are in volatile times. Those tend to be hard to navigate when you're trying to read the tea leaves, right? Because you don't even know whether you should be reading coffee leaves. What is your approach right now? Like, how are you looking at where is the opportunity going to come from? Because we as investors have to map out 5 to 8 years. We are really having to figure out or predict what's going to happen in 5 or 8 years. How are you managing?
Yeah, I think India for the world. I think this is our opportunity. I think 10 years back, if I was seeing DeepTech, we would have to convince people that I built something in India. It's actually a good product.
Yeah.
I have actually seen founders who had to relocate their headquarters to Singapore to sort of say this is a company building from Singapore and this is a product of Singapore, not made in India, right?
Yeah.
I think today we are at a time where we are doing acceptable products at acceptable standards at par with the world. So now that we think about India for the world and we need to solve for energy security, food security, supply chains, which other country can do it? So I think I actually see it as a positive for us in a way that it's a big sort of kick for all of us, wake up call that we need to, what we were doing, we need to do the
We need to do more and faster.
Yeah, 3x the speed. And the second is we'll actually have a large market, not only in India, but globally to cater to.
Yeah, I think that's really a great point to kind of leave people with, right? That this is, we in India at least, the ability to see this as an opportunity because we have multiple markets that we can address.
And we ourselves are like 40 European countries combined.
Yeah, I mean,
so we can cater to ourselves.
We can just cater to ourselves and we'll still be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a great way, I think, to kind of close this out and to leave people with that thought. We always, at the end of each session, do like a little bit of a rapid fire. So,
out of syllabus questions.
Yes. So brace yourself when you're ready. An investor whose work inspires you.
I would not say an investor, I would say a firm.
Okay.
To me, the best firm is Union Square Ventures. The consistency of returns, the fund size, while Silicon Valley is the mecca of tech in US, how a fund sitting out of New York could actually build a legacy, what Brad and Fed have done for that firm is unimaginable, right? I actually, some of their funds, and we had a few sessions with them, have done 14 to 15x, right? So that is kind of the firm they have built. But they have been disciplined. They have not increased the fund size.
Right-sized it, right?
They have always right-sized it. They're still doing it out of New York. Now they have other teams. But really, when people say, again, going back to you can't do this, they heard what you can do. You can actually sit in New York and build a firm which could cater to US. People said you need to have large AUMs to actually make money. They actually have made the fund consistently sized to make money. They have done Stripe, I think, Coinbase, Etsy. Really. So I think not a person, but I think it is a fund. If we could all learn from Valley, I think it's a great fund to learn from.
If you weren't an investor, you would be.
That's a tough one. I don't think my family will agree, but I would like to be a stand-up comedian. Because I think it is all about I think because it is all about observing practical life and it is all a life joke. I mean, you can create a good script out of our lives and it can be a good stand-up act.
Good script out of what's happening in the world right now. A book you read recently that you would recommend everyone read?
I think work related, I would say everyone should read Venture Mindset. I don't think everyone in India has started to sort of, it's a very new big book. It's by Ilya from Stanford University. It's about how you actually have to go against consensus. And I'll tell you why it's personally favorite to me. At Qualcomm, we invested in this company called Zoom, which is now a household name. And at Qualcomm, when the deal lead was banging the table to do it, 10 people in the room said no. But that deal lead was the only one who was talking to business unit and knew that on smartphones, you need something which is not as clunky as WebEx. Right? But it is about actually sometimes you have to be contrary to everyone to say this is what is coming our way and I'm going to put all my horses behind it.
Contrary and have courage.
Yeah. Bang the table.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean people will start banging the table for every left, right and center thing, but really have conviction bets. High conviction.
I think that's a great book to like. Because I think that's really what this world that we're in is about, right? Whether we're investing and having conviction or you're founding something, it is really about having conviction and then having the courage to go on. So that I would say is a great note to leave this episode on. Thank you so much, Swapna. This was a lot of fun. Always all the best in your next career as a stand-up comedy.
That's what I don't know. My family will agree. They didn't think I have a great sense of humor. But thank you, Maya. It's always nice to talk to you.
Thank you.